Mario Cuomo, the former New York governor, passed away from heart failure yesterday at the age of 82. And it's important to note, and it's important to remember, that Mario Cuomo is not Andrew Cuomo. So Andrew Cuomo, of course, is the governor today of New York, and Andrew Cuomo is a centrist, corporatist kind of guy. Now, don't get me wrong, he's done some decent things. He did some gun reform after the Sandy Hook situation, and he's done a handful of policies where you really do want to applaud him, but he also is kind of notorious at this point for being corrupt, because he set up this anti-corruption committee to investigate anybody, and they had free reign to go after whoever they wanted in government. So the committee said, okay, well, we're going to look into you. And he said, oh, no, anybody but me. You can look at anybody for corruption except me, because I obviously am doing corrupt shit. So Andrew Cuomo's not the best, but his dad, in many ways, was a progressive. His dad was certainly to the left of him. So, for example, Mario Cuomo fought for legal abortion, and it's actually kind of a big thing in his case because he's a Roman Catholic, and he even went into Roman Catholic circles and stood up for abortion rights and didn't shy away from it, which, again, is something that's unheard of at the time. And the leadership in New York of the Roman Catholics, they wanted to excommunicate him because of that. So it really was a bold stand, and he was a powerful voice on that issue. He also passed the nation's first seatbelt law. He appointed the state's first African-American, a Hispanic, and 2 female justices to New York's highest court. He supported banning assault weapons. He vetoed death penalty bills multiple times as governor. So the legislature sent bills to his desk time and time again to try to reinstate and bring back the death penalty in New York, and he vetoed it every time and stood up for that. Now, unfortunately, when George Pataki came in right after him, he brought it right back. But while he was there, he did the right thing. But he's probably most known for this speech in 1984. This is at the Democratic Convention, and he was responding to a Ronald Reagan speech where Reagan argued that the U.S. was so perfect in every way, and we are, quote, a shining city on the hill. Here's his response.
He said, "Why, this country is a shining city on a hill." And the president is right. In many ways, we are a shining city on a hill. But the hard truth is that not everyone is sharing in this city's splendor and glory. A shining city is perhaps all the president sees from the portico of the White House and the veranda of his ranch, where everyone seems to be doing well. But there's another city. There's another part to the shining city. The part where some people can't pay their mortgages, and most young people can't afford one. Where students can't afford the education they need, and middle-class parents watch the dreams they hold for their children evaporate. In this part of the city, there are more poor than ever, more families in trouble, more and more people who need help but can't find it. Even worse, there are elderly people who tremble in the basements of the houses there. And there are people who sleep in the city's streets, in the gutter, where the glitter doesn't show. There are ghettos where thousands of young people without a job or an education give their lives away to drug dealers every day. There is despair, Mr. President, in the faces that you don't see, in the places that you don't visit, in your shining city. In fact, Mr. President, this is a nation Mr. President, you ought to know that this nation is more a tale of 2 cities than it is just a shining city on a hill.
I believe that's called a reality check for Ronald Reagan. And he's right. I mean, that's the important part, is that he's bringing up this issue, which still exists today. It's a divide between liberals and conservatives, where conservatives have this tendency to embrace just how myopic they are, where they're inclined to believe, well, things are working out for me just fine, and I had a shot to do well in life, and I did okay, so I could do it. Anybody could do it. I guess everybody has the opportunity, and if you ruin it, it's on you. There's no systemic flaws. They only look through their own eyes. They don't stop and try to view the situation from multiple different angles. Where it's like, okay, what if I was a black kid born in Harlem? What if I was a poor white guy in a trailer park in Mississippi? What if I was a woman born into an environment where there's no work opportunities for women and there's open discrimination? They don't think like that. It doesn't occur to them. They embrace how myopic they are. They only want to see through their own eyes, and they wouldn't venture to even do the intellectual exercise of seeing through anybody else's eyes. So in Ronald Reagan's circle, he's surrounded by people who are wealthy. He's surrounded by people who are happy. He's surrounded by people who control the country. So he thinks, well, I don't understand. Why would anybody not like this? This is working out just fine. It's working out just dandy. And also this speaks to how liberals and conservatives view morality in their different ways. Conservatives view morality through the sense of tradition and social norms, like sitting properly at the dinner table with the forks on the right side and the knives and the spoons in the right places, and you put your napkin in your lap and you speak in a proper tone and you address everybody as Mrs., ma'am and sir. And this is what they view as morality. You know, if somebody curses, it's like, oh, you're so immoral. Whereas liberals, they look at it, they're like, that's not morality. You're just going by, social norms and traditions and ways of acting that are totally arbitrary and made up and very Puritan and Victorian in their nature. Real morality is, what are you going to do when you see that kid starving in the street begging? And you're wearing a $3,000 suit and you're going to your job where you make $200,000 a year, and you see a kid starving in the street and he asks you for change. What are you going to do? That's when we have a discussion about morality. If you ignore him, that's immoral. If you do something, that's moral. And this is what he's getting at. He's saying, look, Mr. President, you see all these happy things because that's your circle, but for Christ's sake, look around, man. Go into a middle-class place. Go into a poor area. See what's really going on in the world and try to understand and realize that it's your job to try to fix that situation because you're the President of the United States. And what he's arguing for, and what we've seen consistently that progressives argue for, is we argue for equal opportunity. We argue that we're not asking for equality of outcome and everybody's successful. No. It's just the idea that you should have a shot. If you're a kid born in Harlem, you should have the same shot as Mitt Romney's son, who's born into $1 trillion and he already has political connections when he's a fetus.